webinar. Yes, this webinar is going to be recorded. The title of this webinar is Freedom Seminar, which we are doing in collaboration with Business Doctors, whom we thank a lot for sharing their expertise with us. And it is about planning a better business and a business that is not dependent and reliant on the business owner. This is a common challenge that many businesses go through, especially when they start growing. And there's a difference between being a bit always wanting to be in control and wanting things to run through you. But at a certain point, you need to start letting go. How to start letting go, how to start trusting, and how not to make yourself the biggest enemy of your business growth. Some things we can work on, others are a little bit more difficult. But the good news is that today there are experts who work in this field, and they have given us the opportunity to be with us today to share a little bit of their insights. You are able to ask questions. You are able to use the chat. You are able to unmute yourself and put questions and maybe put forward a situation for discussion. And we were very looking forward for this webinar because it will be giving a number of very interesting insights that we face on a daily basis and businesses come to us with. So hopefully it will help in starting in the unlocking process towards resolving certain issues. So I leave it in the hands of our colleagues from Business Doctors. With me, I have also Fabian from our office, who will be helping and moderating discussion. I hope you find this webinar interesting, as we will surely do from our end. And please do participate, and we will be happy to follow up with you even after the session.
Okay, everyone is hearing us now, correct? Very good. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Abigail and Fabian, for the introduction as well. So my name is Rebecca, and I come from Business Doctors, and I'm also joined by my colleague, Daniel, who is also one of the co-founders of Business Doctors Malta.
Hello.
So at Business Doctors, basically we are a management consultancy company where our aim is to support SMEs in achieving their next level. So today's seminar, as Abigail already has introduced the topic, it is about taking us back to why business owners took the leap to start and open a business. Many aspiring entrepreneurs start their own business with the dream of achieving a particular goal. Could be early retirement, or to travel around the world, or pursue any other passion. But the reality is, how many actually entrepreneurs do end up realizing these dreams? The reality is, unfortunately, often far from these goals. Running a business can be quite stressful, and it can be very time-consuming, leaving little time for personal goals to be achieved. So today's seminar is getting back to the why you as a business owner have started the business. It could be that you want to achieve liberty to do things the way that you would like to, and when you want to, and to work with who you want in order to achieve the financial freedom. So we will be showing you how the Value Builder framework, which is basically a system that is based on not being dependent on the business owner, which will make it more valuable to potential buyers or investors. So all of this can help you to increase the value of your business in order to achieve true freedom and success. So feel free to, if you have any comments, we are more than willing to discuss with you, and you can do so in any point of the presentation. So the owner's trap. The challenge that most business owners is that they are not free at all. They are mostly trapped by their business, either because the business owner has the most technical expertise, so the employees do not really match the same level of knowledge, and the customer would go directly to the owner, and they would want to talk directly to the owner. And the owner obviously ends up in a situation where when they want to please the customer, so they say yes to customer requests. So here we end up in a situation where the customer is happy and buys from the owner. And unfortunately, the owner ends up working in the business rather than on the business. So if we had to do a little bit of a diagnosis and identify some signs that we are in the owner's trap, could be three main factors. So the first characteristic is that the business slows down when you are away. Sometimes business owners even struggle to book some time off away from the office, from the work environment. Secondly, it could be that the customer are coming directly to you whenever there is an issue, whenever there is a challenge. And thirdly, your business growth has reached a plateau. So your revenue has reached a plateau. So here in the situation, not only businesses are stuck in the owner's trap, very stressful to run, but it is also a business that is worthless, because nobody wants to buy a company that is dependent on the owner. So today's workshop is about freeing yourself from the owner's trap so that you are free to scale up your business. So if we had to interpret freedom, we came up with different ways. Could be that you want to scale up your business, so you want to grow your business, identify new business ventures, or ensure that you are leaving a legacy for your kids and family members. That is why the ultimate freedom is to own a sellable business. It could be also that your ambition is to simply run your company more in a chairman-like position without really being involved in the day-to-day operations of the work. So in fact, we have identified these 8 factors that we believe are the biggest drivers of a company's value. So today we'll be focusing on making your business as sellable as possible, not because necessarily your objective is to sell the company, but because having a sellable company, it is going to give you, the owner, the ultimate poker hand. So in that sense, the ultimate freedom. Research, in fact, has shown that these are the 8 factors that drive the business value, and we will be presenting a number of examples in different business contexts to make it more tangible and more hands-on. So the first one, and I think it is the most obvious one, is financial performance. So this factor looks at your financial health of your business, which includes basically the profitability, the revenue growth, and the cash flow. This factor is important for 2 main reasons. So first one, it is because having a strong financial performance is a key to drive up your business overall value. And secondly, it is because buyers or investors are typically more inclined, more interested in businesses that have a strong financial track record and predictable cash flow, as we will also see later on in the presentation. One key element that plays a crucial consideration in financial performance is the financial buyer. So a financial buyer is an investor who is primarily interested in the financial returns that your business can generate. These buyers are typically looking at a stable and predictable cash flow, strong profitability, and a low risk profile. So their objective is that they want to see that your business can generate consistent and reliable financial returns over time, and that the investment that they make in your business is going to provide a strong return on their investment. So here, when we are looking at thousands of transactions, we can say definitively that financial buyers only buy one thing when they are acquiring a business. They are buying the future stream of profits. Therefore, as an owner, one of your biggest levers to pull on is to drive up the value of your business. So therefore, how much profit your company will make in the future. So let's take a look at an example. Here we have an example which will help us to understand how an acquirer will value your business, not because necessarily you would want to sell your business, but rather because you are understanding the methodology behind an acquirer will use in order in the future, as this will allows us to drive up the value of our business. So firstly, the acquirer will start by trying to estimate how much profit your business can generate in the future, and they will apply a percentage, a rate of return that they would want in the future for their investment that they are making. So here we have a company that is generating 100,000 profit in a year from now, is the forecast, and a buyer comes along and wants a 15% return on their investment. So he or she will be willing to spend around the 87K figure that we have over here for the right to 100K a year of profit a year from now. So here we have just to simply take the 100K and divide it by 1.15. But in reality, that's not the end of the story, because this business, like your business, expects to also make a 100K profit 2 years from now as well. So again, the buyer will again value the second year of profit by applying their expectation of the 15% return. But now they have to wait 2 years for their money, and therefore they will get the 100K and divide it by 1.15 twice, so that they will get around a figure of 76K. So here, the buyer is going to project your future stream of profit into many years, into the future, and they will simply add up the value of your business, of the future stream of profit. So in this hypothetical case where a business is earning and generating, we're saying forecasting 100K a year in profit each year for the next 10 years straight, you would total the right-hand amount of column and arrive to a little more of a valuation than 500K. So if we take only the net profit currently being generated, then the value is only 500,000. So here you might be asking, is that all I would get if I sell my 100K profit a year business? Daqshekk biss jiswa il-business, and can I actually do something about it to increase that figure, to increase that value? That 500,000 can go up or down depending on the level of risk, which is highly affected by the remaining 7 key factors that we'll be discussing as well with you. If in the next 7 points will prove that there is a high risk, then obviously the value of your business will go down. But, and this should be our objective as the business owner, through the following 7 points, we conclude that the risk is actually low, then the value of the business will be more than the 500K. So we're gonna try and keep the 500K as a benchmark figure in mind to use throughout the whole presentation, which is the 500K value of our business. So the second key factor in the value builder is growth potential. And growth potential is all about the ability to scale up our business in the future. So as a business owner, you would want to make sure that your business can grow over time and is going to create value for your stakeholders and for yourself. But the question is, how do I know if actually my business, has the potential to scale up, has the potential to grow in the future? Besides the financial performance we've just covered, there are other elements that go and have a direct impact on the value of our business, which includes the growth potential. Growth potential is basically about the ability to generate recurring revenue. It is also including the size of the market and the customer base and the scalability of your operations. So by focusing on these three elements, you can identify opportunities for growth and expansion and position your business to scale, to capture a larger share of the market. Sometimes we often meet business owners that have multitude of ideas for expanding their business, but the questions usually are, when is the right time to invest? Which idea should take priority? And if it is possible that by focusing on these key elements of growth and expansion, you can better prioritize your ideas and make more strategic investments that will position your business for long-term success. And we usually refer to the trifecta of scale. So the idea is that you will isolate a number of services or products to the trifecta of scale, which has these three elements. So the first one is teachable. Teachable, we are referring to a product or a service that is not dependent on you, not dependent on the business owner. So it could easily be taught and replicated by your team or to the partners or to other partners, without really having that one reliance on one individual, on the business owner. And through this, we are ensuring that there is enough continuity and knowledge and expertise to continue run the business. And having said so, the business owner will be able to focus more on actually growing the business, so on expanding your customer base or on entering new markets, without really needing to reinvent the wheel each time. The second element is valuable. So valuable it is when we have products or services that are aligned to are the most valuable to our customers. And usually they're valuable because they are meeting a clear and pressing need for our customers, for your customers. And when we actually manage to do this, the customers would also be willing to pay a premium price for this. Through valuable products or services, business owners can therefore create a very strong market position, and it will allow them to also differentiate themselves from competitors, therefore increasing the customer loyalty and also the revenue. So in this case, for financial buyers, having a valuable product or a service is definitely an asset, a valuable asset, and it is worth investing in. Obviously, valuable products or services have to be easily communicated to the market. So there needs to be a strong brand identity, a good, clear, planned out marketing strategy that is directly targeting our customers' needs and differentiating us from the competitors. So the last element of the trifecta of scale is basically repeatable. So repeatable is referring to products or services that can be, delivered reliably and consistently over time. And there is minimal variability, so there is minimal effort required to change anything. But obviously, we need to ensure that we're still maintaining a high level of quality or customer experience, depending on the business. So by being able to develop these repeatable products or services, we can create a strong reputation for reliability and quality, which then obviously has an effect, a positive effect, as it will help us to increase customer loyalty and revenue. So the idea here is that it is important that we track and measure. So we have different performance mechanisms in place to be able to consistently evaluate and analyze our quality and customer experiences. So this could be done by developing KPIs in order to implement these process improvements and optimization. We feel that sometimes many business owners end up along the way expanding and broadening the list of products or services they sell as customer along the way, so more on an ad hoc basis. Selling lots of things to a few customers can actually be a recipe for your business to become owner dependent, because here you have a situation where you are likely the only person to really know in the company who has what and has enough industry knowledge to successfully deliver such broad product or service line.
Okay, so let's discuss an example where we are using these three factors to analyze the products and services being offered by a particular business. In this case, we are going to use a photography business to understand which of the services have the highest growth potential. As Rebecca correctly said, the three factors that our service or products must have to drive scalability are teachable to employees, valuable to customers, and the extent to which they recur, the extent to which they are repeatable. Shooting at so the first example is shooting at a wedding. So shooting at a wedding might score 7 on teachable, because although there is some art to shoot at a wedding and manage to capture those spontaneous moments, in reality they are always the same poses and the same sequence. So for example, you first have the shots with the bride and the groom, and then invite their parents and friends and so on and so forth. The second attribute, called valuable, describes the extent to which your customers value you as the provider of the products and service. In case of weddings, we normally tend to find that the bride and the groom are less price sensitive and are willing to spend a little bit more for this special occasion. So in this case, we gave it the highest score of 9. But a wedding is something you only ever sell once to the same customer, or hopefully. So therefore, the score here in terms of repeatability is 0. So if we add up the 7 and the 9, we get a total score of 16. The second example are football team photos. Here, in terms of teachable, we gave it, again, the score of 9, because it is highly teachable. Those that are familiar with football, the annual football team photos are always the same. You'd have 3 rows, the first row sitting and together with all the players and the coaching stuff. So in terms of teachability, it is very straightforward. In terms of valuable, well, you know that football teams normally tend to hire, in this case, cheaper photographers, especially in Malta, and therefore in terms of value that the club sees in buying this product is not very high. Lastly, in terms of repeatability, then this is normally an annual thing. So if you are a photographer and you are approached by a football team, you know that this is a recurring client that once a year will ask you to, take the annual football team photos. And especially if we take into consideration football nurseries that have all these different age groups, and therefore, in terms of repeatability, the volumes are higher. So if we add up the total score for the football team's annual photos, we get a score of 21. The final example is school photos. So in terms of school photos, they are a bit similar to football team photos, because again, the class photos would have 2 or 3 different rows with all the students lined up with their teacher. So in terms of teachability, again, we gave it the highest score of 9. In terms of valuability, normally parents tend to be highly interested in purchasing these annual photos for the kids to have a memory of the classmates when they grow up, and therefore they would be ready to pay a premium price. In terms of repeatability, again, similar to the football teams, you have all the different age groups, the different classrooms, and it is an annual event, so it would be repeated each and every year. So if we had to add up all the scores that we're given, we would end up with a score of 27, which is the highest of the three. For those of you who think more visually, you can do this exercise using a classic X and Y axis, where the Y axis corresponds to the value of the service, that the perceived value by the client, and the X axis relates to how teachable it is. Then simply plot all the things that you sell or that you are planning to sell if you want to grow or thinking of a number of ideas on this axis. Split the products and services between those where customers are repeat clients and where customers are one-offs. So in this case, if I had to explain this a little bit further, we have given color coding. The red ones are one-off clients, whereas the blue ones are the repeat customers. So once we have plotted everything on our pretty graph, then we just need to take off the red colored products or services, because these are one-off and therefore score low in terms of repeatability. So we have to find new clients every time. And the products or services that are found on the top right-hand corner of the chart would be the most teachable and valuable. After this session, we'll be sharing with you a number of takeaway tools so that you can try this out for your business. The first one is the scalability finder. So here it is a sample of the table that we have shown earlier. You will list your products and services, and then you grade them in terms of teachable, valuable, repeatable, and this will show you which of your maybe existing or future products or services have the highest scalability score. As you work through the exercise, you may find that there is a natural tension between valuable and teachable, because those attributes that are least valuable, so they are perceived of low value by the customer, are normally very teachable, as opposed to when something is very teachable, it would have the lowest value. So they work in opposite direction. This is normal, and the secret to overcome this hurdle is to bundle up maybe the less valuable offerings into a valuable bundle. Just to give an example, telecommunication companies nowadays, since the landline is very rarely used, are bundling up for home users the telephone line service together with internet, with TV, and maybe other services. Do you have any questions or comments so far? Okay.
Very good. So the third factor is the Switzerland structure, which is also going to identify how we can create more value within our business. This is another factor that investors consider when assessing the validity of a 500K business valuation, to keep the same example, as it is going to help and gauge whether the company's value is likely to increase or decrease over time. So here, the goal is neutrality. The name comes from the country being obsessed with remaining independent. And this is why we gave it the name of the Switzerland structure. Why? Because a business model that is set up to be free of any reliance, employee, whether it is an employee, whether it is a customer, whether it is a supplier, is a valuable business. And you should also be obsessed with making sure that your business is independent of any of these stakeholders. So ideally, you should be able to switch from one supplier to the other without really significantly making an impact on your business. So if we had to discuss a little bit more about the customer, so we're saying here that no one customer should make up more than 15% of your revenue. So to give an example, imagine we are owning a bakery shop that supplies baked goods to an established coffee shop chain, and your business depends more than 50% of the chain. So you have worked for several years with this coffee shop chain. You have managed to attain a very good relationship with the management team as well, and they rely heavily on your baked goods to supply their shops. However, one day they inform you that they have found a cheaper supplier and that they're going to actually move their business elsewhere. So this, as you can imagine, has taken a major hit on your business revenue, affecting, therefore, your business value. So if we had to implement the Switzerland structure in order to reduce the dependency on the customer, we can use examples such as diversifying our customer base and expanding product offering by creating more stable and sustainable business. A second example when it comes to supplier is here our objective. Our goal is to be able to switch any of our suppliers, having no dependency on them. So an example is a client of ours working within the construction industry actually imports supplies from a specific supplier located overseas. So the supplier has been providing materials to the client for project ongoing sites works, but over the past year, all of a sudden the supplier went out of business. So this has completely cut off guard the client, leaving a significant impact on the client's profit margins, but also on the project this itself. So here there is with little room for other alternative alternatives. These materials are a necessity to be in stock and in time, as otherwise the client would face project delays, etc. So for this reason, we are now currently working to diversify more our supplier base, as well as, start and building new relationships with different suppliers and find alternative materials. The hardest part, and this leads us to the third element, is employees. So it is going to reduce our reliance on one or two key employees. We are very much aware that right now employment is an issue, and recruitment is not an easy task. And when we have especially those key employees that are very close to heart, for whatsoever reason, it could be that there's also an element of dependency on these key employees. So to give an example, we have a new client that we have been working on with recently. He operates within the manufacturing industry, and he has a machine which 50% of the works is on the output is operated through this machine. Unfortunately, the employee that has the expertise how to operate this machine has given in his resignation for personal matters. So this is obviously going to create a direct impact on the production and bring the operations to a standstill. So a way how we can implement the Switzerland structure in order to overcome that dependency on this employee is by starting to document processes, by using actually job shadowing mechanisms, and by training other employees and giving them enough exposure to minimize the dependency. The aim here is to create a system for tracking and measuring the performance and development, as this will allow us to review progress over time.
Okay, so this is the second takeaway tool we will be sharing with you. We have focused this on the employees, but obviously it can be also implemented for the customers and the suppliers. The idea here is to list down the employees and jot down what action you can take to minimize the dependency on that particular person. In this case, we have Anton Borch, who is a key employee and has been working with us for a number of years. We have a very high dependency, so although Anton Borch is delivering and has a great output, great personality, great attitude towards work, we know that there is a dependency. If something happens to Anton, or if we want to promote Anton maybe to a higher position, then we need to remove that dependency now in order to help him maybe grow as well within our company. So here we listed, okay, so SOPs, standard operating procedure, document the processes, and job shadowing. Involve other employees in learning what Anton knows so well, so that in case that Anton is not available anymore to do the work that he currently does, we would lessen the burden and the effect on the company.
Very good. So the fourth factor is the valuation seesaw, which is basically another attribute that will help the business owner to achieve the freedom to do what you want. I'm sure that when we were kids, all of us experienced and learned this in the playground when we saw that a seesaw could only function properly when there is an even distribution of weight. And in reality, the same holds for businesses where imbalances in key factors are going to create a gravitational pull that can affect the overall business value. So in the value builder, the seesaw category is basically reflecting the trade-off between the short-term cash flow and the long-term value creation. So basically what we're saying is that the value of your business is going to move in the opposite direction of your cash flow needs. In other words, the more that your business generates cash flow, in other words, the more cash that your business is going to need, the less it is going to be worth for a potential investor. In reality, then the opposite is that if your business generates cash as you grow, your business will become more worth to a buyer. Why is this? The reason is simple, because when a buyer is acquiring your business, they have to write two checks. The first one is directly to you, to the owner, and the second is the working capital, which is basically, for account speak, the immediate obligations like salaries, rents, and other payables. So the money to write these two different checks comes from the same pocket. So obviously, the bigger the check the acquirer needs to write, the less for the working capital, the smaller the check you'll end up getting. So here, not only does improving your cash flow is going to increase the value of your company, and it's going to make it less stressful to run it, because if you collect your debtors, you need to collect them faster. This is highly dependent as well on the nature of the business. Why? Because in the case of catering industry, a restaurant that is operating well, generating enough sales turnover, the nature of the restaurant is that the clients, would settle the bill while they are still there. So it is less likely to face cash flow issues. Whereas wholesaler, which is more business to business based, they are more prone to face cash flow issues.
Okay, so let's take an example of a wholesaler that imports air conditioning units and sells them to other installers. So it is a B2B business, like Rebecca was saying. In this industry, it is common to pay suppliers upfront. So when you order, you would pay that order in full, and then you'd have to wait for the clients to pay you 30 days normally after you give them the units that they would have bought. So here the wholesaler is taking a risk by investing a significant amount of money upfront without having the guarantee that the units will sell. So in addition, the wholesaler needs to ensure that they have enough stock on hand to satisfy the potential orders. As installers, in this case, would go to the competition. So if they come for, say, a 12,000 BTUs and you don't have 1 day, 2 days, for 3 days, they would go to a competition and they would buy it from there. So this obviously creates, all these factors create a natural tension on the cash flow of the business. This is an exercise that we like to do very, very much. It's a reflective exercise more than anything. And here we would be asking ourselves two questions. So the first one is generate ideas for getting the customers to pay sooner. Certain mechanisms that we have implemented in the past would revolve around having different discount tiers for paying customers, say, so if it is a wholesaler or B2B, you would engage specific customers and you would strike a deal that they would be buying at a discounted rate, but they would pay for the goods on order, or maybe at the lower level, so a less percentage discount for clients that pay on delivery. The second question is obviously to generate ideas how to delay payments to suppliers, and I know that this is a very difficult thing to do, especially since Malta is a tiny island and the region is what it is. Normally the negotiations with large scale foreign suppliers is very difficult. But we can try, and maybe what we would need to do is to find different suppliers that would grant us maybe different payment terms. Do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to share with us on the first 4 factors that we went through?
Daniel, I am thinking a bit about this of not being dependent on a limited number of suppliers.
Yes.
Another scenario, which is a bit of a natural thing to do, because when you find someone who you're working well with, even happier to depend on them because they provide consistency, the relationship continues going well, and you support each other. But obviously, you need not to be dependent, as you are saying. And another scenario is the real fluctuations that we are seeing in prices. So we have seen businesses that have been put in great difficulty because they cannot remain competitive because the suppliers they were dependent on have increased dramatically their products. So at which point would you start looking for different suppliers? Would you just do research and keep some suppliers as shortlisted and reach out to them in a more tangible way once something starts going wrong, or you would deal with more than one supplier at the same time? Because obviously it depends also the size of the business and economies of scale, because if you are ordering a specific amount and you're ordering double, it's different.
That's a very good point. We know that for SMEs it is not easy to have multiple suppliers, especially when we have quota levels that we have to reach. So these large suppliers would force us to buy a certain amount. What we are saying here is that as much as possible, we would need to have a feasible fallback plan. So we have our main supplier, we are happy with the supplier, but if we realize that we are fully dependent on that supplier and basically that the value of our business is practically zero if that supplier goes out of business, maybe, or maybe the brand is taken over by a larger company within the same market, then the value of our business basically is zero in this case. So what we would normally recommend is that we need to constantly be on the lookout for different brands and different services, because as we know today, technology improves and evolves every day, and the new brands are coming up on a continuous basis. And start talking to these suppliers, evaluate the options that they offer, see if it is maybe more feasible to work with them, try them out, and if possible, try to balance between eventually 2 brands. It is not an easy exercise, and it is not something that one can do with a couple of clicks of a button, because it takes all the negotiation and all the process to that we go through when we are engaging a new supplier. But as much as possible, to increase the value of the business, we need to not be dependent on one supplier. We have a comment. Yes, Joe. Unfortunately, certain suppliers do not like when they know that we are looking for an alternative supplier. There are different ways how we can go about it. But nevertheless, I'm not saying that this is the only way how to have a valuable business. I'm saying that as much as possible, we need to decrease this risk, because a potential buyer of our business now would say, okay, so they import brand X, Y, and Z, and it is not very much worth it for me to buy that business, because I can maybe go straight and contact brand X, Y, and Z and get it myself. Why would I have to buy a business? I just contact the supplier and start importing goods. Today, we know that with parallel trading, this exclusivity, so one thing that we also have to keep in mind, that this exclusivity is not as exclusive as it used to be before. So we experience with a number of our clients, unfortunately, they would have had this relationship with a particular brand for years, and all of a sudden we find that somebody else is selling the same brand within the same market. So, well, it is complex. I'm not saying it is something easy to go about it, but we have to keep thinking about it, and every year we need to see what's out there, what's changing in the industry, what's not, how we can maybe approach certain suppliers. It's a continuous cycle. It is not something that we would do only once and then forget about it. Okay, so we got our brand, so let's focus on something else. This is normally what we find is that this dependency becomes natural of how we get this brand. But what we are recommending here is to stop and think whether there is this dependency at this point in time, and in what ways you might reduce that dependency. I'm not sure if I've answered your point, Joe and Abigail.
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. So the next factor, which is the fifth one, is recurring revenue. And basically recurring revenue is referring to the predictable cash flow and, having a stable source of cash flow. So it is going to make it much more attractive to a potential buyer, a potential investor. When we were first discussing the first factor, financial performance, we mentioned that a buyer, when they are acquiring your business, they are acquiring your future stream of profit. And therefore, the more reliable you can make your business model, the more value your company will hold. So for example, if we had to refer to the same example of the company with a present value of $500,000 and generating the 100K annual profit, if it is relying only on one-time fees, then there is no really much form of recurring revenue, and it is at risk of decreasing the valuation. Having a recurring revenue is essential, as it is going to guarantee that $500,000 can actually increase. It is going to make it easier to be able to plan our finances and manage them, to reduce the risk of cash flow problems, and it's going to be an asset for us to continue increase our value. We can also, for example, mention an example, a software provider selling a CRM, a customer relationship management, where they would have two different kinds of revenue. So the first form would be the actually implementation, so the one-time fee. And the other form would be the recurring, where there's recurring because of the annual license per user. So in terms of value, these ongoing revenue generated are usually generally valued at twice the amount of the actually one-time transaction sale. Irrelevant to the industry, the key is to come up with different creative forms and ways how to guarantee different recurring revenues, which can take in different form.
Okay, so now we will go through the hierarchy of recurring revenue. So what's more, recurring revenue allows us that peace of mind and to sleep well at night, knowing that our basic cash needs for the future are being covered. We have identified 5 forms of recurring revenue, and I will be walking you through them from the least desirable to the most. So at the 5th place, we find the basic consumables. Starbucks is an excellent example. So Starbucks runs a basic consumables business, basically. Caffeine is a drug most of us use every morning, and therefore Starbucks can count on a lot of their customers returning to refuel each and every day. Starbucks, on the other hand, don't force their customers to return every day, but as we all know, we are creatures of habit, and any consumables business benefits from that. So this creates a type of recurring revenue. In the fourth place, we have committed to buy consumables. These are where the customers have made an investment to do business with you and to keep the coffee team. I'm going to use the Nespresso machines. So Nespresso, so once you buy the machine, you would need to buy the Nespresso capsules that work only with that machine. Obviously, interestingly, this only works for as long as the patent lasts. So nowadays, different suppliers can provide the capsules in the form that are compatible with the Nespresso machines. But until that point, it is a way of ensuring recurring revenue. In the third place, we have subscriptions. Subscriptions is a sunk money subscription business where the customers make an investment to do business with you and then buys a subscription. Maybe those of you who work in finance, the Bloomberg terminal would be a good example where Wall Street traders would need to buy the terminal and then buy the subscription to receive Bloomberg's market information. The second most important type of recurring revenue is an auto-renewal subscription, where there is no start or stop of the relationship with that company. We're all victims on inertia, and therefore, when a subscription continues in perpetuity, it's very unlikely to cancel. Excellent examples of this are Netflix, Spotify, Apple Music, and we have, well, this model is working a lot and is very popular nowadays. At the top of the hierarchy, we have multi-year contracts. These are the most valuable form of recurring revenue because it is, as the name implies, is a multi-year contract where the customer is legally obliged to buy from you in the future. So these companies would insist that for their customers to commit to a 1, 2, 3 year plan, because they know that the value of the company will go up when they adopt this model and have a number of subscriptions. The most maybe popular way, popular example of multi-year contracts are the telecommunications post-pay contracts, where the customer would sign a contract for 2 years, say, and then that would generate a peace of mind for the company, for the service provider, that for 24 months they would be receiving this minimum amount per month.
So the sixth value is monopoly control, and here basically we are referring to the wow factor of your business. In our daily work, most of the time when we are meeting new clients, business owners, they would be rather a little bit confused where they are heading at. They would know that they need to make plans for their business for the coming 2 to 3 years, but we would identify a number of loopholes when we're sitting down with them. And a lot of business owners, they would be undecided on what is the next step for their business. They would be questioning whether they should differentiate their services or whether they should be focusing on a particular service or a product, or decide to be to lower the cost in order to be champion at a competitive price. So the question is, how do you actually decide on the best strategy for your business? Should I offer a unique product? Should I focus on a niche market, or should I differentiate? And in this diagram, here we are focusing on three different strategic options, basically. So we will be discussing the three of them. The first one is cost leadership. So basically, when we're saying cost leadership, it is all about being the cheapest in the market. IKEA, I'm sure it's a well-known company, a furniture retailer, which offers very competitive prices. It is based by selling basically flat pack furniture, which reduces the shipping and storage costs. So by them designing products with simplicity and efficiency, they are managing to keep competitive prices. Another example is McDonald's, the fast food restaurant chain. It has standardized its menu. It has also used economies of scale and uses technology to also improve efficiency. Now we will be covering differentiation focus. So differentiation strategy, according to Harvard Business Review, there are three core value disciplines that are important to differentiate a business from the competition. The first value is operational excellence, where basically here there is such a flawless product, high quality, that the reputation is very high. The second element that Harvard Business Review suggests is customer intimacy. And here it is all about providing an experience to the customer. So it could be either through good after sales and customer service, for example. And the third element is product or service leadership. So here the company would have the most expertise and very high knowledge in that particular field, rather than trying to really excel in all these three different core values. The key is to focus on one specific and then meet the industry level on the remaining two. So for example, Apple, they are very well known for the product design and user experience, and they use sleek design and they are very innovative. So here they would classify as being product leadership. On the other hand, Nike has established by focusing on athletic apparel, they have high quality products basically, and this brand also has a very strong emotional connection with its customers, with its consumers. So there is an element of customer intimacy. And Tesla, another example, has also managed to differentiate itself from other car manufacturers by focusing on electrical vehicles that are sustainable, use sustainable energy. So basically here, Tesla has managed to attain product leadership. So the third generic strategy is niche focus, and niche strategy basically is targeting a very specific narrow segment of the market. So it is meeting a unique need of the client. One example is Airbnb, where unlike the traditional accommodation, Airbnb is an online marketplace for accommodation, and travelers can perhaps enjoy more a local and authentic experience, providing a more personalized travel experience for those who would prefer to stay in non-traditional accommodations. So here, basically, the key and what we are trying to portray as a message is that we need to sell the right thing to the right customer in the right way. And the opposite of this is that you will find yourself in the so-called killing fields. So basically, it is when you will be adopting multiple strategies at the same time. An example of this could be a company that is trying to adopt a differentiation strategy and also trying to be the cheapest in the market. So basically here, it is all about whether you are focused enough. If you are in the killing fields, then you are unfocused and certainly don't have the wow factor.
Okay, so now we will be going through the virtuous cycle of differentiation. Out of the three, we are focusing on differentiation because for SMEs, being the cheapest in the market is a rather difficult feat, because we can always be outgunned by the larger companies. So what we can do is to offer something different in terms of one of the strategies that Rebecca has mentioned. So your goal should be to find an attribute or benefit of your product that makes it unique to the market, which will give you more control over the pricing. Having more control over the pricing and in turn will give us higher margins, which will give us more money for marketing, allowing us to further differentiate the offering and thus starting this virtuous cycle. As an example, I will be using a manufacturing company operating in the marble industry and selling a high-end brand. So the idea here would be that you have to come up with a holistic marketing plan that covers all aspects of marketing, including how we package the service and how we target our customers, and obviously at the end, how we're going to promote the products and services being offered. By offering something different and unique, this would enable the company to be in a position to increase the price and as a result, have higher margins. Ultimately, this would generate more cash and the company would be able to have higher marketing budgets. And again, like I explained before, develop further the products that we would have already been offering and thus going into this cycle. The wow factor. The wow factor is the fourth takeaway tool. This is a tool that we use a lot and we find it very useful and practical to determine how the wow factor and what the wow factor of the company is. And we do this by plotting the products and services that a business would offer and the extent they make you different from the competition. So to do this, ask yourselves two questions. What do customers care most about? And we give it a rating and we plot it on the x-axis. And the second question would be, how unique is the product or service being offered? Once we have the scores for the different products and services, we would plot them on a graph. And the factors that are in the top right-hand corner, so being the services that our clients see value in, and the services or products that are really making us different within our market would be the products that we should focus on when differentiating.
The seventh, not second, factor is customer satisfaction, which comes to no surprise, obviously. It is an important element in order to grow a sellable business. But the reality is that having a highly satisfied customer is actually not enough. It doesn't stop there. Your goal should be rather to not only have a happy customer, but they also would be willing to repurchase and refer you to their friends, colleagues, etc. And that is a much higher bar to reach, as in fact, Frederick Hild has discovered. Frederick Hild is a consultant. He has spent a number of years studying customer satisfaction and how companies can actually measure their customer satisfaction. And he actually discovered that there is no direct relationship between a customer saying that they are satisfied and the likelihood that they will actually repurchase or refer you. Many customers would actually say, yes, they were very happy with the product or service, but then the very next day they would purchase from the competitor. Accounting figures are important, but on their own, there are other elements that we have to take into consideration. We have to understand how we can actually improve the lives of our customers. And Rick Holt got to work combining through the numbers by basically discovering and asking one question, which was predictive of both repurchase and referral, So the simple question is, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or a colleague? And this is what we actually refer to as the NPS, so the Net Promoter Score, which is now become a benchmark in the industry as a standard satisfaction. And it has been adopted by a number of companies as well. So here it is about the customer becoming an advocate for your business. So to measure it, you just need to simply ask that question on a scale of 0 to 10. How likely are you to recommend us to a friend? And then you need to bucket your respondents depending on the scores. So there are 3 categories. The first one is promoters, where they would score from 9 to 10. So basically, the customers would be really pleased with the experience that they would actually recommend your brand. The second one is passive scores. So they got what they paid for, but nothing more to preach about, kind of. And the third category is detractors. So it's a score from 0 to 6. And the customers could be that they were disappointed with the experience, which could unfortunately damage the firm's growth and reputation. So our objective as business owners should always be to inspire our team to deliver experiences, reach high quality level to our clients in order to achieve more positive results. So if we had to figure out the NPS, you just need to simply take the percentage of the promoters, as we're seeing over here, the 25%, and subtract the percentage of the detractors, which is 5%, which would be left, we would have an NPS score of 20%. From our first-hand experience related to NPS, reaching a score of positive 30% or more would be very positive, because that means that the clients are more likely to refer, and therefore they are very happy with the service. Having said so, businesses that reach the 60%, they would be doing a phenomenal, exceptional job, and that is what should be the objective, and every business should aspire for. So this is the last category. It is hub and spoke, and we save the best for the last is the most important one, because it is actually going to measure the extent to what your business really relies on you personally, on the business owner. The name hub and spoke derives from the airline industry, whereas the airport is the hub. And imagine that airlines get snowed in, sorry, the hub gets snowed in, so the airlines would be trapped and all of the system would actually break down. So here, what the focus is basically that sellability of a business that is dependent on the business owner is not really attractive. It's not a good business because it is not self-sustainable and it cannot continue to grow for it to be sellable. So again, if all the contacts and of the clients, of the customers, of the suppliers are within the business owner, then the business is not good. We are what we started the presentation with, at the owner's trap. So likewise, the hub and spoke manager who controls the business with decisions centralized at the hub. So to remove the hub and the business, and to be able to remove the hub and the business, to make it basically the objective is that we need to make it our business more worth. So how can we do this? How can we do this? It is by not having reliance on the business owner. Many business owners would want to focus on profitability, so they would more focus on profit rather than creating more a worthwhile business. So an example could be that they would be more inclined to hire a salesperson. They would be more inclined to, rather than actually hiring a salesperson, to actually do all the sales themselves, as this is going to maximize their profit. Or instead of hiring a management team, they would actually hire a team that can say yes and execute the tasks in order for them to pay lower salaries. So while the profit seeker may actually maximize the profit, it's not necessarily meaning that it's growing the value of the business.
Okay, so this is the final takeaway tool. like both Rebecca and Abigail at the very beginning stressed, this is one of the most, the biggest, I would say, the outright biggest challenge that we see businesses, especially SMEs, facing in our day-to-day support that we provide. Improving your score is best handled to small steps, and you probably already taken a number of these steps to minimize the company's reliance on you. So what we suggest is to first make a list of the things that you have already done in the last year to make your business less dependent on you. Then list 2 specific actions that you could take in the next 90 days to make sure that the business is even now less dependent than it is today. Some examples that you have to think of are elements of delegation, defining the roles and the organizational structure, introduce, if your business is growing and is now very difficult to handle each and every employee by yourself, to introduce team leaders, to introduce maybe managers in larger businesses, and jot down these ideas rather than ideas, these action plans to make sure that in baby steps we start moving in that direction in a slow and steady way. This is not an easy feat, and it needs to be tackled step by step, because we cannot give massive shocks to the system, but still we need to move in that direction. Most often than not, SMEs are dependent on the business owner, and like I think Abigail said in the beginning, the owner, instead of becoming the best asset of the company, becomes the best threat for the growth and the future expansion of the company. I don't know if you have any questions before we start the final wrap up.
Okay, so basically we need to remember that the profit and the value are 2 distinguishable factors. They are different things. Profit is only one of the factors that is amongst the 8 factors that we have discussed today. And the difference between the profit and the value can, in actual real terms, be huge. So what we're trying to do is to get the business owner to be unemployed, in the sense that your job should be to more think strategically and ahead of your business, focusing mainly on how you can increase the value of your business. Because until you are immersed and indispensable within the company, if something happens to you, then eventually the company will crumble down as well. So if we had to go back to the example we mentioned earlier, the company generating 100K profit actually scored now a 750K, $250,000 value. But the reality is that, as we've said, profit and value are different. So a company that is earning 200K, so double the amount of profit, actually scored a lower value score, which is 500K. So basically it could be because there is no form of recurring revenue, for example. The case scenario of the $500,000 value, it can either increase. Example, we would have a guaranteed 3-year contract. So there is potential for growth and recurring revenue. There is stability as well. So this would mean that the value can grow up even further to 3.75 million in the future. But if there isn't really potential for growth, then the value can go low to just over 1 million. So here the scope is that all the factors in reality are gauging a different risk element, and they are all important. Most owners, again, would start their business for freedom, could be for different reasons, depending on their own personal terms. However, most business owners would rather fall short of this dream and become trapped in the situation. So building a sellable business will provide us with options, with choices to scale it up, to pass it down and leave a legacy to sell it or to be similar in a similar position like a non-executive chairman. So that was the whole seminar for today. I'm not sure if there's any comments before we wrap up.
There is actually a comment in the chat.
Okay.
Stephanie Bush, employing more services. So Stephanie is asking, employing more services, great, but one is assuming that there is cash flow for it. Actually, Stephanie, what we suggested before is to focus. So the more services we offer, the more reliance on the business owner we will have. So the idea is to focus. So in the beginning we saw how we were evaluating the products and services that we offer in terms of teachability, in terms of in terms of value, and in terms of repeatability. The idea here would be to focus on the services that score the highest and are generating the most return. Expanding your businesses, expanding the amount of services being offered is good at a certain point in time, because obviously we will be able to attract different clients. But if the structure is not there, and especially this hub and spoke is still depending very much on the business owner, then it would be very, 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 very difficult for you to scale up without losing and you would be losing kind of this dependency on yourself. Cash flow is an issue, and cash flow normally is an issue when there is this reliance. We find most of the time having to scale up. I need to scale up. I have this idea, but cash flow is an issue. We have to first and foremost see these 8 factors from a holistic point of view. And obviously, one case is not the same like the other, so I don't want to go into the specifics, and I don't know the specifics, but we see a correlation between having a bad cash flow and the hub and spoke, because normally a business is limited when everything is reliant on the business owner. So this cash flow, this growth is not being generated, and everything is falling back on the business owner. So in due time, yes, increase the services by all means, do a proper marketing strategy, but most importantly, actually, we suggest the other thing: focus on your key products and services and sell only that. Elaine, vacancies are becoming very difficult to fill because the wage demands have skyrocketed and are not at all in line with the potential qualifications of the individuals applying. This is definitely hindering growth. I couldn't agree more, Elaine. This is a daily struggle for our clients as well. We support them rather than on getting new employees. We have to focus on the existing ones, because today and keeping the employees engaged and the retention of such employees is the most important task that a business owner needs to focus on most of the time. And this is maybe there's room for another seminar. We talk a lot about employee engagement, because having the employees engaged would keep them there, they would see themselves growing, and it's normally cheaper to keep your existing employees than having them leave and then employing somebody new. So you have to train them, you'd lose all that experience, you'd lose all that knowledge. Recruitment is a nightmare and is very costly. So what I suggest is, yes, it is an employee's market. There's no one right kind of medicine, because otherwise I would stock up on it and take it myself. How to deal with this shortage in labor. But what I suggest, because this is something within our reach, is to focus on the existing employees and engage them and try to increase the retention within our company. There's a final comment to reduce by Christine Gauci Borda to reduce dependency delegation is crucial, but how do you overcome employee resistance to take more responsibility, i.e. take decisions themselves without resorting to the business owner? What you are describing is again lack of employee engagement. Normally, when we have engaged employees, they would come forward and they would want more responsibility and they would want to grow within the organization they are working with. Engaged employees feel that the business they are working for is like it's their own
Ownership.
and they have full ownership of the task they would be doing, and they would be very, very eager to actually take more responsibility. Again, I'm not generalizing. We know that maybe the younger generations are a little bit challenging, more than maybe people my age were, or maybe it's because I am getting old. But anyway, yes, it is difficult, and but focus on getting people engaged. That is the crucial focus point that I suggest you focus your efforts on. Do you have any further questions? You're very welcome.
When you find a way to clone people, Daniel, that's very helpful.
I will text you and give you the recipe. So far, we haven't managed yet. It would be a nice project to embark on.
Very challenging. There's another comment. Agreed.
Yes, cloning. We haven't heard about cloning for a number of years now, but I guess that would be the best way how to go about it.
We'll have to wait a little bit more.
Most probably.
In the meantime, we are witnessing AI.
Yes, yes, that will bring its challenges and its opportunities as well.
Yes. Thank you very much, Daniel and Rebecca, for these insights. Anyone wishing to follow up, having further queries, please get in touch, and we'll be glad to pass this on. Following today's session, we will also send you a very short questionnaire to give us feedback, because we understand that this is a very personal and a discussion that is very much related to the specific business. So we were a bit in difficulty between doing something that many businesses might be interested in to see exactly how we can help out in a generic form, but also really helping out tangibly by giving something which is more related to the specific business. So we would appreciate your feedback on this. What elements you found helpful and least helpful, and everything, so that we can continue improving.
Okay, if I may, Abigail, we have actually prepared a small survey that Rebecca will tell us about, just to collect this feedback and information.
Yes. So basically, just to conclude from our end, we'll be sharing as well the value builder. So you can also fill it in yourself to get a value score on your business. And you will also receive a score on each value factor, so on all the 8 factors, and a report with it. And furthermore, we will also have a feedback survey that's where it is, where basically we can identify ways how we can keep on improving. You can either scan the QR code, or we'll also be sharing a link. It would be highly appreciated as well.
We have also recorded the session, and we will be circulating it as we always do, together with the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much all for
the afternoon.
Same to you.
Same to you.
Same to you.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now. Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.